Hello, my name is John Grooms, Media Ethics, Communications 415, Professor Allison Thompson. I'm here today to talk about the unethical marketing practices of addiction treatment centers for profit. With the opioid epidemic and escalating alcohol figures, we're seeing this rush for big businesses to advertise their addiction treatment centers. We see it on the TV, internet, billboards. Addiction is big business. And on the outset, it looks like they seem to care. But research has shown there's a big ethical dilemma. When an addict calls or clicks his mouse, money starts flowing. Information is what they want. First they want to talk to you, and then when someone needs help and they're at this breaking point, this is not the time or the place to start taking down personal information. You need to get somebody some help right away. But what they want is your insurance information. Even the commercials will say most insurance policies are covered at our treatment center, but you don't always know that because transparency is a big problem, and that's what we're here to talk about. Call centers like to sell your data to other addiction treatment centers. For example, Google pulled ads just recently because they noticed people were giving people information every time they clicked. A treatment center was paying $70 for personal information. And so they found out they were sending people to unfit treatment centers. A lot of these treatment centers portray it as being like paradise, and this is where the stars go and this is where their recovery. But that's not always the case. Addiction marketing, the market is enormous. Approximately 23.5 million people are addicted to drugs and alcohol. That's 1 in 10 in the U.S. alone. That's the population of Texas. Data sharing does help, but it does open door for privacy violations, and this isn't usually up front. So that's where the transparency we're having problems with. And an addiction treatment center may or may not be breaking laws, but it does not make how they operate ethical. Some addiction treatment centers get kickbacks from the government, many with no oversight, especially for-profit addiction treatment centers. There's not a lot of oversight there. And where the money goes, who knows? Back into advertising to possibly bring back in clients, to send clients back. We'll get to that. When an addict clicks or makes a phone call to a 1-800 number from a media advertisement, their info could possibly be sold to a body broker. Now, a body broker is a transporter. He finds people who have good insurance, and he takes them to addiction treatment centers, where he can get a kickback of $500 to $700 a week. And you could actually have fallen into the advertisement, but when you get there, you might spend 1-2 days in the detox, but then the transporter or the body broker will take you to a halfway house. That's where you're supposedly to be introduced back in society and be sober. But in some of these houses, in some cases, are run down, dilapidated trailers where there's already addicts in the house and drugs are being sold. So what they do is they get you addicted again, bring you back into the treatment center, initial money comes in again, and they just do this in a vicious cycle. Well, this is not recovery, and it's not transparent, and this could mean death, and has meant death. Most addiction treatment centers' ads mention that they are covered by most insurance plans. Patients know what their desired outcome is when they know what they want. They want to get sober, but they have the lack of medical expertise to understand really what they're getting into. When you're not sober, do you think you can make a really good decision? The corrupt owners of an addiction treatment center might pay $500 per week in kickbacks to operators of sober homes who send them clients with good health insurance. Hayden, 2017, said it. And an example of how how much money there is in this and how important this is to these insurance companies is, an example was WellPoint. The CEO, Angela Brayley, received $20 million in residuals, but she resigned in 2012 because she wasn't, because revenues weren't high enough. So they let her go, or why she resigned, excuse me. And in 2014, WellPoint changed their brands to Anthem Blue Cross. Well, what they did is they tried to jump on the existing clientele that they had because they obviously failed at their own little adventure. And the minute they did, they raised premiums 25%. And patients cannot, on a price as quality, as they can't use that as a marker because healthcare lacks transparency and reflects an array of other influences. That was Shanker, 2014. And the competition between private and public addiction treatment centers it's amazing what's going on out there. It's just a feeding frenzy. But like some of your your public treatment centers and community services, they don't have big money for campaigns and advertising. They don't have palm trees. They're not going to pick you up in a limo and send you out, put you in a lawn chair, and dope you up on Ativan. It's just not going to happen. But there is more oversight in a public sector, from what my research has shown, than a private one. Either way, transparency is the key to an informed decision. But it's still the profit that drives the marketing in all these media platforms. In my research, I found SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and it's a branch of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And regardless of your financial situation, you can get immediate help. They'll send you or give you directions to a local addiction treatment center, support groups, community online organizations, literature on what to do and everything else. And they also have a 1-800 number, 1-800-662-HELP. And that's right here, if anyone cannot hear. Thank you. And that's, I want to touch on that again, that private, from the research shown that private for-profit addiction treatment centers don't require their personnel to be certified or to be counselors in social work. It's just not required. They're private. The oversight is minimal. The government is working on it. There are a few bills underway right now for mandatory oversight. And you want to have that transparency. You want to know that you're getting the quality treatment. This is life or death, and it's paramount that if the personnel that you're sending a loved one to or you're going to yourself is qualified for administrating these life-saving services, because that's what it is. It's life-saving or death. That's what addiction does. It either kills you immediately or it will get you later. Either way, if you don't get help and you don't abstain, it's gloomy. Okay. Medicaid is a great example. Some addiction treatment centers cost $40,000 a month. Now, transparency is necessary. It's going to prevent hardship to people already who might be financially compromised. I mean, finances can be a big reason why people try to escape and then end up getting addicted. I mean, as a matter of fact, it is one of them. I mean, it's a stressor of life, and the stressors are usually what keep people addicted. And basically, I guess my point here is, why would you help somebody by saying, yes, we'll take you and your Medicaid will take you if you're already impoverished or you don't have any money, and then you get out and all of a sudden you have all these bills that you didn't even know that you were going to get because of transparency, because they didn't tell you. They just wanted you in there so they could get your money, so they could get your Medicaid for $40,000 a month. Okay. All this happens due to unethical advertising in media. And it's been the focus of this research. And let's talk about the emotional toll and what it takes on family and friends and your employer and society as a whole. 23.5 million people addicted. It's big business, not to mention the alcohol industry. And what about the broken homes? The new widows, the new widowers, all the job loss, parentless children, and yes, childrenless parents. The cycle is ugly. And from an unethical non-transparency of advertising. Help. They're advertising help, and it can kill you. Transparency is necessary. A solution has been echoed here today. Again, transparency in all marketing strategies in the media, advertising, and addiction and recovery field everywhere. Actually, I believe it should be in all medical cases and circumstances. It should be mandatory for addiction treatment centers to disclose all costs from admittance to release and must provide aftercare. If a recovery center doesn't have an aftercare plan, you're probably getting taken to the bank. You want to have that care follow you out back to home when you adjust back into society. And the patients must be made aware of any extra financial obligations that they might incur while they're there. They should also have a health insurance representative readily available at all treatment centers to talk to you about just what you're in for financially. We know why you're in there. But I kind of look at all this from the Kantian perspective, The lack of transparency is not in the interest of common good. You're basically, you're taking people for their money when they're coming to you for help, and that's just not right. Kant said, it's a possession of rationality, guided will, that adds a moral dimension to one's acts. So, it is recognition and appreciation of duty itself that must drive our actions. Immanuel Kant. This research has shown the lack of transparency in media can have a negative impact on the recovery process. It is said we are our brother's keepers and our sisters. Let's not keep them addicted for the sake of profit. After all, we are a global village.